Now all you people, I want you to set those headphones down. Get up. I said get up off your chairs and sing it with me one time. One time. It don't cost nothing, but you feel real good. But here we go. It's the Humpday happy hour hangout. Yes, it's the Humpday happy hour hangout. Oh yes, let's all get used at the director's garage.
I am. Wow. Got a frog in my throat off that. It's been a minute since we've heard that song. Oh, there's nothing feeding back in here. I think it's just the fold back through my headphones. Yeah, it is. Okay. Well, welcome everybody to a Wednesday Hump Day Happy Hour edition of the Director's Garage. I'm gonna kill this music down a lot because we're gonna do some stuff. I'm gonna play some stuff back for you guys today. And a little bit from our Audeze trip. In case you didn't know, well, first of all, welcome to Wednesday. And these are the FoKal Batiste, folks. I'm going to need these on and off today because some of what I'm playing back is going to have some audio with it. And these are the subject of the next shootout that we're doing here at the Director's Garage that I'll eventually get to. And I know it's been a month. And there's another fire, by the way, about 10 miles right there. I can see the smoke now. Like as I'm saying, right out there, there are a whole bunch of smoke on the other side of the valley. It is nerve-wracking. But yes, I mean, I'm using these on the wire because of the way it's got to go. I can't Bluetooth into the setup here. It's all done on a wire. So, what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be showing, we had a, there we go. Got to get this really down low. God, even low, that's a lot, isn't it? I wonder if it's an on or off thing. I don't know if I got a way to control this. Well, it'll be what it be. I'll stop the music if I have to. No, let's just do that for now. That's better. Okay, whatever. I'll stop the music when we go to playback. So what happened about 3 weeks ago, a group of us from the Patreon group that I do, we do a Patreon, go to Patreon if you want, and you can do the things. But I do this show called the Hangover Hangout, and it's on Saturdays, and it's once a month. We all get together, everybody's got Zoom cameras, we have a nice meetup online and talk about our music and stuff. Well, a group of us got together and said, hey, you know, we had Peter James on from Audeze on one of the Hangover Hangouts. And he said, why don't you guys come down and check out our new facility because it's been revamped since the last time I was there, which was when the Audeze Carbon was released. And I went down there because they did something to control the stacks farting that those headphones did. They had a little modification to eliminate some of it. Well, now they've got a Carbon 2 coming out that eliminates all of it, and we got a chance to go down there and listen to them and listen to any of the Audeze headphones. And I'm going to be showing off some photos and stuff from that Audeze. Hang on, I gotta find.
Explain to me where.
There we go. So, okay, so I'll go to this because this is, why not? Multimedia is my name. Guys, I don't know. So let's go to the here. So here's a whoa. It was supposed to grow up. There we go. Now it grew up. Peter James is the guy in the shirt, and then that's me, and then a couple of our guys, Jonathan and Sajan, and then I can't do it. Okay. I don't know why.
Explain to me.
There's Peter, so Peter took us around the Audeze factory and just showed us like how they were assembling the headphones and how they all went together. I didn't clearly take this photo. This is one of the ones that one of the guys on the trip sent me. But it was great. It was great, guys. It was a lot of fun. And yeah, I still don't have hair, even in those photos. And fire alert. Oh boy. No, we're all doomed. No, I don't know. Evacuation orders. Well, there you go. But it's not for us. I'm 10 miles from this thing, but it's another big one. I don't know, boys. I don't know. Not looking good. Not looking good. So what I did was he showed us around, and he showed us around some of the custom... Oh, I got to get off this. My bad. I thought it was on me. So what I did was he showed us around the shop and showed us some of the machining equipment, and we met a ton of people who are just there to assemble headphones. And to see them all working, and I'm going to show you. Oh, I can show you this. Hang on.
Explain to me.
Oh, I got a video of that. Okay, never mind. We'll do a video. We'll do the video. All right, so let me run through you a couple of photos, just so you can get an idea. You know, because the stuff comes. They're proud of the fact that most of this is made on location, on site. The tooling, the machinery, all of it made at Audeze. They make their own. You know, there's some specific things that that they have to buy, like the laser printers for the circuit boards and things like that, you know, and the traces and stuff. They have to buy those machines. But a lot of the mechanisms for like plating this stuff and stamping out these headphones, it's built on site. They have a machine shop that builds these jigs to get all of this stuff done. Their cups, their wooden cups, are still made right here, as we learned from our friends at Raul. Still made here, right here in SoCal. Local business produces all of their wooden rings for them. Any of their printing stuff, 3D printing, gets done on site. They do a lot of the stuff. There are some parts that they have to order, electronics parts that come in from overseas, but they try as much as possible to assemble these things all in Southern California and keep it an American-made product, which is interesting. It's an interesting approach. Not everybody's doing that. But this is a bunch of the magnet arrays, and I think this was Maxwell, if I'm not mistaken, for the Maxwells. The Maxwell is their big, you know, one of their big sellers right now, of course. And of course I can't switch photos for some reason. Here's a larger plate. These all get stamped out on dies, and they mass produce these things. They stamp out, you know, 8 of them at a time, then they all go through quality control to make sure they all came out right. And it's checked and rechecked, and they have guys with, there's a station where a guy just has headphones and he's running tone sweeps through headphones and checking them for anomalies. And if it doesn't pass, they, you know, move it aside. Peter James did used to work for Headamp. He's been there for a couple of years now. He came right around the last time I went out there, around the time I think right around the time the first Carbon came out. But at any rate, let's just see if I got more photos here. I'm sure I do. I took a bunch. Here's another one of their magnet array things. I just thought these are cool. And these are all jigs. So what they're doing here is they're adhering the magnets to another piece. And they have these jigs that stamp this is the thing that presses down and stamps them into something else, and then does a glue up. So these are all clamps right here, but they're custom clamps, so they put the pressure in the right spots and not on the magnet screen. That's really cool. And I just wish I could thumb through these, but it's, my thing is not cooperating. Preview usually takes care of this, but it doesn't on Mac today. So here's a bunch of wooden cups for that custom LCD-2 that just came out a couple months ago. Just fantastic. I mean, when you see the care and the craftsmanship and all the stuff that goes into what they do, it's quite impressive. This is a massive facility, guys. This is like 2 or 3 warehouses now, because they're doing all of the Sony stuff there too for the PlayStation. They make the drivers for the wireless Sony branded PlayStation headphones and IEMs, all coming from here from Audeze. And then they produce the drivers, send them to Sony, and they marry them to their shells and stuff. So let's see if I got anything else here. I'm gonna go to the videos too, because there were some pretty cool videos. Oh, this is kind of cool. Okay. Well, I didn't plan this well. How do I pause? I'm going to play this for you. This is a little piece of B-roll. Now, this is part of their eStat setup right here. And these are part of the eStat drivers and the yokes and stuff, and they have to assemble the eStat headphones, the carbon stuff, inside this clean room. And I'm going to do a little video here in a second where it'll explain it all. But I just thought it's really neat. This is an airtight room that has a filtration on it so that specks of dust in the room can't get caught on the driver. But now let's get to the informational stuff, because it's going to be more interesting, I think, than the photos. All right, so to do that, we're going to go here. Now I'm going to turn the music off because I want you guys to be able to hear what's happening. Oh, right on cue. It's the end of the song. Lovely. Hey, okay.
Explain to me, what is this here?
Here we go.
So this clean room facility is what we primarily use to build the electrostatic headphones to keep dust and whatnot out of the headphones. So you can see there's a lot of parts lined up that have been inspected that are ready for the first stage of Carbon 2 production, which should hopefully be kicking off shortly. We were delayed on getting some of the parts on that headphone, unfortunately, so that's caused a bit of a delay with our launch on that. Yeah, they're getting ready to get that one out there. You can see there's some other material in here that's used for inspecting film and other parts of the process. And then in the back there, the machine with the kind of round metal stamp, so that's a vacuum deposition chamber. So we use that in R&D for depositing very thin amounts of metal on driver film to try different experiments and things. It pretty much works in the unit of an angstrom, which is much smaller than even a micrometer. It's almost like measuring in individual atoms, so to speak.
But when you're dealing with electrostatic stuff, I mean, dust is a major deal, right? You can't get particulates on.
Yeah, I mean, it is a major deal. The one thing in our headphones that makes it a bit less of a problem than for other headphones is the carbon nanotube embedded driver film, which means that the drivers are one piece of film. There's no metal layer attached to the driver film, which means that driver can never delaminate the way it can in other electrostatic headphones. So that just means dust, humidity are less of a problem for our electrostatics compared to any of the other ones on the market.
Very cool. Very cool.
That is very cool. Ages ago, is your so you're not using like a carbon film, you're using something else on the diaphragm?
So the diaphragm film itself, so we actually cast that film ourselves. So that's how we're able to control both the amount and the density of carbon nanotube material, how it's distributed in that. But yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that was that's the first video of several. I'm going to get back on camera here for a second while I queue up the next thing. So that, and like I said, they do all this stuff in house, and I was just so impressed by the quality and the attention.
Peter, what are we looking at here?
Sorry, that's the top of the next video. You'll see in a second. To see, these clean rooms and things like this and all the stuff you go through just to produce a headphone. And you wonder how they can charge, thousands for a headphone. And it's like, well, they got to pay for all that stuff, And you're going to see that as we go through some of these videos, you're going to see some of this custom equipment that they've got to buy and have manufactured. And there's stuff that we saw that we couldn't shoot because they don't want to give away their trade secrets. So they showed us some stuff. They said, guys, can you please put the cameras down for this in this area and whatever. And then there was one area that they wouldn't take us to at all because it was so sensitive. They actually had some prototypes out and they didn't want to give up the ghost. And I said, well, I promise I won't say anything, or anything that we see. And apparently my promise wasn't good enough. So anyway, let's go to the next video because these are all real cool. And I just found this fascinating. I hope you guys are enjoying this, but I'm going to play through a bunch of these. I was just asking them about different things and we stopped at various points and I said, can you explain this on camera? So
Peter, what are we looking at here?
So this is one of our laser engravers. These are used for producing some of the small parts inside the headphone, guides and things of that nature, and also used for a lot of prototyping. But we use a number of different laser processes in creating all the parts of the headphone that we make here on site, from including the drivers themselves.
So these are metal. These will etch metal.
Yes.
Okay. Explain, what's that product? So it's like creating traces kind of thing?
Yeah. Or, basically you can set it to follow whatever path you want. So that could be something where maybe it creates a trace on a driver, or, you could create a design in wood to put a logo on it to make something more decorative. So they're incredibly versatile, useful tools. Yeah.
I want one of these. I want to put one of these in my studio.
Well, there are some that are more of a home base that you can get for only a couple grand. And just
that's all.
Fairly simple. Yeah, well, a big machine like this might be 30, 50 grand. So something that's only a couple grand that you can put on a desktop and make some fun little stuff with. They're pretty neat little devices. Yeah.
Perfect. I'll take two.
Okay, so that was. And you'll hear during this, this sweeping tone thing going on. That's not like a special effect or something added in post. That's the guy sitting there testing driver after driver after driver. And he would take a headphone, put it on this rig, run the sweep, which was then recorded on a microphone, and they would see if the response was good enough to be passing QC, and then he'd put it aside, or he'd put it, and they were all passing, but he would just go through and test driver after driver and make sure the drivers were matching. Very cool stuff. I was really into it. Here's another station we stopped at. It was just a really good morning.
But tell me what we got here.
So this is one of our rigs that we use for burn-in and testing of headphones. So the headphones get put on these racks and plugged in, and music gets played through them for a good period of time, 24 to 48 hours often. And then they're measured, and if they pass, they get cleaned up, packed up, and shipped out.
Does burn-in matter really?
Matter, I mean, it can matter to some extent. There are physical property changes that happen, particularly around areas where drivers flex. It's less of an issue on planar drivers, especially if they're properly tensioned. It's more of an issue, I'd say, on dynamic driver headphones, which of course we don't actually make.
So yeah, that was I love the burn-in stuff, and it was more about QC too. You know, they just want to make sure that they're not sending out stuff. He told me that if a headphone is going to fail, if a headphone driver is going to fail, it will likely fail in the first 48 hours of its existence. And by doing this burn-in thing, besides, you know, working the driver in, if you're into that, I believe that, I don't know. I always said that if it takes 100 hours of burn-in to make your product sound good, you done made a bad product, because I shouldn't have to be the person that sits through the agonizing 100 hours. You should send it to me already burned in and ready to go. That's always been my opinion. But he does make a good point that, you know, these things will fail early if they're going to fail at all. So by giving it a chance to fail, if a solder was weak or something as it gets, you know, worn in, they'd rather catch it early than send it out to you and then have it fail in the first couple of days. Which made a lot of sense. Now, this is the burn-in suite. I forgot I shot a video of this, but you'll see this guy, this test station where he was testing driver after driver after driver. This one's pretty cool. I like this one.
Looking at here, this looks really complex.
So here he's testing each driver to make sure it has, you know, expected frequency response, you know, characteristics, and that data then gets stored and is used to match drivers as they go into each headphone. So you see him putting the driver into a jig there that, you know, holds it down. And the test tone is played and the data is gathered, and on to the next one.
Wow. Explain to me
So, yeah, that was. I think that's the end of all this. Let's see if I can stop, and I'll make sure I've run through everything. Is that the last one? Yes, it is. So that was the last of the videos. Okay, let's get the music restored so we can have some tunes going on. I mean, I do like a good tune. There we go. The sweet sounds. The sweet sounds of jazz on the Director's Garage Live. We'll go to the chat in a second. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, see, now I can get rid of this because boy, it's really hard because there's a slap echoey thing going on because it's showing me the audio from two different places at once. So I hear myself and I sound like I'm speaking in a tube, but I'm actually not. Anyway, so that was the trip to Audeze, and then afterwards, let's see if I can find any of the other photos, because there were some photos of us just listening to headphones, which was really fun. Oh, that's more the fire shit.
Peter, what are we looking at here? Explain to me where.
Somebody gave me. Maybe it was in another set of photos. Oh, there we go. I'll show this. This is some B-roll. I'll turn the sound down. But this is their listening room that we got to go and check out. Let's see if I can hear. So, and he had a whole bunch of really cool stuff. He had a Weiss stack, and he had the Bartok, the reel-to-reel deck, which I didn't. I almost put on. There's a Macintosh amp there. He had, and then there's a right in front of. Is that Ken or I can't tell who's sitting there. It's Jonathan. Jonathan's got his Rawls on. That's what it is. Brown brought his Rawl to the Audeze factory, but he had a Halomé stack there. So and we could pull any of the headphones off the wall and listen to them, which was really cool, man. I mean, like to hear every single thing. And of course, I spent a lot of time. They had a KGS SHV, but they didn't have. It was the straight version of that, not the Carbon CC, which is what I have, which is the model below it. But to hear the brand new Carbon 2 on that rig, that's formidable. That's really good stuff. It was really impressive. Had a whole bunch of gear there that was really cool. And if anybody, any of our guys are out there who went on this trip with us, if Ken Workshop was there, and Sajan and Jonathan were also there, but it was just great to get to see this stuff and then to listen to it. And they let us stay as long as we wanted. I had to bug out because that was right after the fire happened across the street that we talked about last week, that I'm still sort of in various recovery modes from, making a plan to get my shed rebuilt because the roof caved in when a tree fell on it, and we've been working to clean the house and keep the smoke out and all that. So it's been a whole thing. But I'm sort of getting back toward production. If you hear some clicking, it's because of this hard drive right here. I've decided that I need to do some promotional videos for me not as a director's garage guy, but as a director, professional reels. And so to do this, I'm pulling from basically 20 years of footage that I have stored on these hard drives. And I've gone through this process in the last 2 weeks of moving data off of my work drives. I have this super fast set of 24 terabyte drives. It's a 24 terabyte disk array that can shove data out and onto it at very fast speeds, enough to play 4K video, or 1080 or whatever, any kind of video up to like 6K. I think at 6K it's going to start getting chunky, but with only 20, I know it sounds crazy, but with only 24 terabytes, which sounds large, but it's not all that much, and all of my show material that I've been cutting for years on these things, I've got to shove stuff offline to make room to pull new stuff in. Sorry, we're getting fire updates like every 30 seconds right now. It's 8,000 acres. So to make room for this, I've got to transfer a bunch of Director's Garage stuff off to these mini hard drives, and then I've got to move the stuff that's on the mini drives from old stuff that I did in the past, old projects I've done, and move them to these fast hard drives so I can work with them, because you can't work with them off these tiny little drives. It's just too slow. Nothing goes. You'll be cutting for. So I spent 4 or 5 days moving stuff. This was a pesky drive that would not mount. So I debated what to do with it. I was just going to ignore it, but then I thought, well, I've got a couple of little tools that might work. And I tried the disk utility and, trying to fix stuff. I have this app called Disk Drill, because it seemed like it wasn't a physical problem with the drives. It was a menu structure. It was the way the catalog was written on the drive. Something got kaflooey in there. Maybe I wrote too much data to this drive and it went beyond it tried to write beyond its allocation or something, but it got screwed up, got hosed. So I used a program called Disk Drill. Not a sponsor, I get nothing from them, but for the first time, one of these drive things actually dove into the drive and showed me all of the data on the drive that was there when nothing else was working. So, Jonathan just popped in. I just saw his thing come in, but that's great. Jonathan, if you go back to the top of this video, you'll see some of the videos from our trip down to Audeze. But so I used Disk Drill, and Disk Drill, suddenly all my old files came up, all my old shoots that were on this, and this is like 8 terabytes worth of shoots. So I'm transferring all of this over to another drive. I had to increase my drive space on the Drobos, which is kind of interim fast storage, but it's not editing fast storage. So I use Drobos, which are this box of 5 disks that are also arrayed, but it's not as fast as my RAID system, my fast RAID system. I have this G-RAID shuttle that handles the heavy lifting. But I can use the Drobo in interim, but the Drobo was getting full. So I needed to I added 3 14 terabyte drives to the Drobo. This may not be interesting to anybody, but it's just, this has been so in my mind because this is what I've been doing for 5 days, is moving all this data around to make room for more stuff. But the Drobos I had to rebuild and you replace a drive at a time on that, and then it makes the available space much larger as you add drives. So I put I pulled out 3 6 terabyte drives and put in 3 14 terabyte drives, and then the other 2 are 8s that stayed fine because they're newer. So I created all this extra space, and now I can fix this hard drive. I have room to transfer this hard drive data over and save the material on this drive, and then I'll reformat this drive and see what went wrong. But that's just stuff I'm doing to make room, and I'm trying to get to the point where I can get back to show production too. I'm not kidding, guys. Every single one of those beeps you're hearing, more evacuations. This is crazy. Lake Peru. I was at Lake Peru. That's where there was an actress who drowned there, and we did a report. So that's being evacuated now. So this fire's moving, but it's moving away from us. It's moving west. It's not moving. It would have to move north to get to me, or south to get to me. But at any rate, it's all the stuff going on. It's all we've been dealing with for 3 weeks here in LA. Fires and misery and more fires. So I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to get back into production mode for the show too, because I know you guys have been wanting videos, and I've got a video here that I've written for Ever Solo that I have to shoot. That's a thing for Audio 46 that they sent me, this beautiful Ever Solo that I unboxed in December. I've got to shoot that review. I've got a shootout review I've got to do that's coming up next with this Focal Batiste and the Noble FoKus Apollo. That's all coming. I just needed to catch my breath, and I still need to focus on getting work. I'm really getting nervous that I don't have a job. So these reels that I'm going to be building over the next few weeks in between doing episodes are for personal promotion to try and get me work. And it's important. I've got to do this stuff. I've got to do everything I can to try and get some jobs going, more jobs going, because I've only worked a few days in the last 6 months, last 4 months, and that's not good. That's not good enough for me. I need to be active and doing stuff, and I'm getting a little stir crazy. So I'm taking these video projects on myself to get work drummed up, as well as, and we'll do a hangover hangout. I'm probably going to do a hangover hangout on Saturday. For those of you who are on the Patreon, I got to try and get a hold of Trevor from Norn. I want to get Norn Audio on. I don't know if he'll be able to join us or not, but we'll just we'll do a gathering and see who drops in on Saturday morning, so we can have one in January, despite all the craziness that's been going on here. I may not be as participatory. I may leave it off to the guests to run the show more this weekend, but I do want to do that because I enjoy that, and I enjoy spending time with you all. It's a lot of fun. Let's get to the chat. It's 4 o'clock in LA right now, and the news is just recapping the devastation, which is not good. That's going on. Okay, what did Audeze cook this time around? Well, I will say this. Audeze has a plan for a flagship. First of all, the Carbon 2 is nearing release. They had a little delay for some parts. I think that came up in one of the videos. There's a little parts delay, some components that they need to get in, little probably resistors and little electronic doodads that they wouldn't make in-house. It's something you would part out to you'd buy in bulk from a company. They're waiting for those parts to get there to finish off their first batch. I left my carbon in Orange County because I'm going to get the upgrade. Don't know how I'm going to pay for it yet, but we're going to get the upgrade for the Carbon to Carbon 2. and that's going to take months anyway, and hopefully I'm going to have a job by then. But I want to get that. I want to get that in. I want to get my Carbon upgraded and get that back here to really play around with. So I left my Carbon there with them. They'll get to it when they get to it. But they have plans for a new flagship next year. But that surprisingly, like, that's not what they're excited about. They're excited about all their other releases. He kept saying, yes, we have a flagship coming, and I'm sure it's going to get make a lot of noise. I pressed him, guys. We all pressed him to go on the record with something we can say, and he just couldn't. He's like, it's just not. They're just not ready to say anything yet. But they do have a flagship on the way in 2025, which will, presumably compete or be a counterpoint to the LCD-5. It's just because they come out with, like the 4Z is still there. You can buy the 4Z still, which is a nice sounding headphone. It's not quite, in my opinion, and I think everybody here, it's not quite an LCD-4, the OG, but it's more drivable. It's more easily driven, so they consider it an upgrade. I think that just sonically, it's missing a little something, but they're aware. They keep making the 4, and they'll probably keep making the 5, and whatever they're coming out with is going to be something new at the top tier. And they're a big player, and they've got a lot of funds now to work with this infusion of money from Sony. Yeah, I kind of expect great things. I mean, the Carbon 2 is righteous. It's it's a different sound from the SRX-9000, which is in the back row there. It's a different sound. It's got more bass. It sounds like, you took an electrostatic headphone with all of its great attributes, its speed, the detail, the micro detail, all of that stuff, and they made it more planar-like. It's got more of a planar sound to it, which is good because it brings in some bass. It brings in some thump down low. And I was listening to, I put on Something, the remix of Something, which is already bass heavy because Giles had supervision from McCartney and Ringo. So, on these Beatles remixes, those Beatles things are really heavy in the drums and they're really heavy in the bass, and they don't disappoint. But I was listening to Something and I'm like, God, the impact on this is really nice. And it's a wonderful headphone. It was clearly the star of everything in that room, at least to me. I can speak for myself. Ken might have a different opinion. Jonathan might have a different opinion, but I think Jonathan was in my camp as far as it being the real star of that room was that Carbon 2. And I think everybody who walked out of that room after spending time with the Carbon 2 was thinking, how do I make room for this in my inventory? What do I got to sell? What should I move aside? What should I, because it's special. There's a reason to own that headphone, I think. And I'm excited that I'm going to have a path to do it at some point. Very exciting stuff. Very exciting stuff. So what did Audeze cook this time around, Sir? They cooked up, first of all, they cooked up a nice presentation for a group of visitors, and I think that pretty much anybody can get a tour there. I don't want to make it seem like we're special, but I thought they did something special for us, which is really pay attention to us and let us play a little bit, and then they took us around and showed us some really cool stuff. Some of the stuff they didn't let us see or put on camera, the Sony stuff, the stuff they're doing for Sony. They're not comfortable putting out there because they're doing it for Sony, for their mother company. It's not being sold as an Audeze product. It's being sold as a Sony product, and they have proprietary stuff there, and they don't want to piss off the mothership when the mothership is being good to them, Cheeky Fest, welcome. I know you'd probably drop off early because you're in London. Very good, though. Thank you for... Cheers, everybody. Cheers to Wednesday. I got to get some nectar in me. I hope you enjoyed that, by the way. That was, I took some video. I just wanted to share the experience with you guys a little bit. I debated about doing a big formal video that wasn't so clunky with me jumping back and forth to the laptop and whatnot. But I'm going so slow right now, admittedly, on getting you guys episodes. I wanted to share some of it with the crowd. And I know, like, Neil couldn't be there. Neil had to drop out at the last minute. It became too much money and too much time, and it became a big hassle. And Neil was going to come in from San Francisco and join the crowd, join us on this tour, and we're going to go to lunch and stuff. It didn't quite come together this time. So maybe we'll do it again in the future, or do some other thing where we can all meet up. But I was sorry that Neil did. So Neil can at least check out those videos, and those of you who wondered what was going on. How has their factory changed since being acquired by Sony? Well, it's gotten bigger. They've expanded. They've got a second warehouse in the same complex that they purchased. And it's heavily guarded. Don't even think about it. And rightfully so. They've got a lot of material and a lot of expense there. But they've expanded. They've taken over a whole other, annexed, in other words, another whole set of offices to handle the increased production. Remember, and we learned this from when Peter did our Patreon live stream, and I'd encourage you guys, I know it's silly and everything, but if you want to support the channel, $3 Patreon, and I send you the links to every single Patreon video we've done for the up until last month, which includes the Peter James interview, which is interesting because Peter talked about in depth about what happened with when Sony came in, and how Sony's been surprisingly hands-off, and talked about how their capacity went from doing a couple 100,000 units a year to 4 million units a year in just a couple of years. They had to ramp that up and be able to ship that amount, because they're producing for PlayStation, and they're producing for Sony, and they're producing their own stuff. So they've been a little bit busy down there in Orange County, and good on them. We want to see them grow. I just was worried, at that time, I was worried that it meant that they were going to sacrifice their high-end stuff because Sony's going to want them to do, and Sony couldn't. They want them to keep pushing the boundaries and doing these amazing things. So I'm excited to see what they do. And the factory has changed in that they've gotten, there are better versions, more advanced versions of the stamping equipment. You saw one of them, the printing equipment. You saw one of them in one of the videos that I played earlier. They've gotten better versions of that stuff, better versions of that laser printing units that can do more, faster, better, and more accurate. So they've gotten more of those machines, and obviously just the volume of material they're shoving through there now, because they're doing 4 million units versus a few 100,000 units. So very different. Peter James, yes, Nephilim, he did used to work at Headamp, and he came over to Audeze. That's pretty much a pretty good time for them. I love Audeze. I wish they had a good LCD-4 complement to his LCD XC. Yeah, the XC to me was a bright headphone, admittedly, and they have and they had an EQ correction for that headphone that knocks a lot of that brightness away. But I thought it was a really well done headphone. I just thought it was too bright for me, and I don't always think to put on the EQ, so I wound up selling mine off. But I do still have my carbons here, and the LCD-5, which I do in some ways regret selling, because I love that headphone. I just loved that headphone. Every time you hear that noise, that's another Fire update. I'm not looking at this one. it's a spectacular, spectacular neutral headphone that I think if I was building an audio studio for doing sound production, that is the headphone I'd want. That is the headphone that I would be doing all of my headphone mixing on. If I'm going to mix on a headphone versus a pair of near fields, that would be the headphone I'd mix on. It's that good. It's perfect. It's a great headphone but it just has a very specific purpose. In that the same way that the LCD-4 is a bass monster. It's a deep bass monster, but it's still, there's enough speed in that LCD-4 to make it viable. And Sajan brought his LCD-4 up there and to compare, and it's still a great headphone. It's still a great headphone. There's nothing wrong with the LCD-4, the original, the OG. And the LCD-4Z is still a good headphone too. It's just easier to drive, and it just kind of lost some of the meatiness, I think, for some reason. And that makes sense because they shrunk the driver down. That's part of what they did with the 4Z. They kept the same basic tuning, but they shrunk the driver down. They're going to lose some impact there. There's just something about it. Anyway, Audeze one of a kind. Why do you think Sony bought them? Yes, of course. I would if I was Sony. It's just smart business. Do I miss Alex Ross? I do miss Alex Rossen, though. He was a good amp designer. Yeah. And like I said, it just made great business sense for Sony. I was just afraid that they were saying, we want to do all of these better. We want to do better drivers, and whatever. I was worried that they were going to hamper them from development, and it hasn't. And that's the genius. That's what Sony has done right in this move, is they've kind of stayed out of their hair a little bit. And I got to salute Sony for doing that. I think that's great. That's great for everyone. Super Scooper about to make a drop on this fire. Big 727. 767? 727, I think. Anyway. Don't know my planes by sight. three engines, 3 jet. Tail jet. But anyway, somebody chime in with what that is. Ginger said he was lucky enough to have a pair of limited LCD-Rs. They were amazing. Yeah, that's a headphone that I've wanted for a while if I've ever came up. But I can't buy anything right now. I mean, I'm stun locked right now with the gear that I have. I kind of have to hold on to everything, and until if I sell stuff, I've got to get it to Ray Samuels. Anything I sell has got to go to my Ray Samuels fund to pay for the Beats 21. He's being tremendously patient. But the LCD-R, yeah, that's a headphone I wanted. A couple of times I came close. It just didn't, whatever reason, you know how things go. It's like, the money wasn't there, or the situation wasn't quite right, or I didn't feel great about the deal, and whatever. Just didn't come together. But it's a headphone that I've always wanted to get in here, and I think it's been offered to me by a couple of folks who've said they'll send me one if I ever want to get one in here. I've had a couple of people offer stuff. I'm not making enough shows right now, so I'm kind of telling everybody, just give me some space and let me get the next 2 shows out, and then we'll figure out where we're going from there with this thing. It's just a hard time to dedicate my personal time to something that's not making money when I need to focus on getting a job that will pay for everything and solve a lot of problems in a hurry. Oh God, Cheeky Fest out of here. Cheers, peace out, Cheeky Fest. I'm sure that was 20 minutes ago, but whatever. I'm behind in the chat. When does that ever happen on this show? I'll watch the replay. Okay, well, I answered your questions, buddy. Welcome. Good morning, wherever you are. If Audeze did, JTV, my brother from another mother, says, if Audeze did a special run of the OG LCD-4, they would sell in minutes. Well, I can't confirm this, but it's a feeling that I get when I look to the west. Sorry, Led Zeppelin. The feeling I get is I've got a hunch that the next Audeze headphone, and I have no confirmation, they have not sold me one thing. I think that the next Audeze flagship headphone is going to be a bridge back to that LCD-4. I just think they're hearing it from enough people they want to answer the call. That's a complete guess on my part. This is a complete guess. I have no inside knowledge. Peter did not take me aside and say, here's what's really going on. He couldn't do that. He's not allowed to do that. So, but my guess is I think that they're going to work on the bass and maybe bring the treble in a little bit on the 5. And obviously it'll have upgrades in that you're going to have an even thinner diaphragm. One thing he did promise me, Audeze will not do an unveiled driver. That's the one takeaway from today. You will not see an Audeze LCD-5 unveiled. They have no interest in doing that. They have no interest in doing that at all. So, something you can take away from this show. There will not be any unveiled versions of Audeze headphones. They don't believe in that. They think that that's not a good idea. I tend to concur. Okay, we've talked about the unveiled trend. That's the trend that I most hope dies in 2025. We have to stop exposing these drivers and making them suspect. I don't care if it gives you a 2% increase in sound. It's not worth it. It's just not. It's not smart. It's not worth it. I don't care what you put around them to keep them safe. You're going to drop that thing at the wrong time at some point because that's Murphy's Law. You know. Uncle Murphy's going to come and visit you if you bought an unveiled. That's my prophecy for today. Thank you very much. Nephilim agrees. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I do think that the LCD-4 is still, it's that and the Carbon were their two most, and this Carbon 2, guys, you got to hear this. This is an electrostat to be reckoned with. It's a great electrostatic. And I thought that the Carbon 1 was a great electrostatic. It just had some technical problems with the stacks farting that just made them kind of unappealing, not fun to wear, because you'd put them on and you'd just brace for this pop. That wasn't very fun. So, yeah. And even they knew that. That's, they wouldn't be answering with the 2. But he did tell me, I thought that the Carbon 2 was about that venting that they called SLAM technology. I thought that the venting that was on the Carbon 2 was about that SLAM technology, and or the upgrade. But no, he said the driver's been redesigned too. There's a driver change in it. So you're not just adding this little air gap system that's tuned to do good things to the bass and relieve the pressure that causes the stacks farting. Did we talk about this on this show? Maybe I can call it up, because you should know about this. This is important to know about. What's going on with the Carbon 2? Hang on. Got to go full screen, and then we'll go to Audeze. There we go. Let's go to this, and I'll just explain it. What my understanding is. Okay, so this is Audeze products, audio file, Carbon 2. Okay, here we go. The Carbon 2, and I've talked about this in past episodes, but let's just go through it real quick so you understand what's happening here. $6,000. They're up in price. You can buy a Carbon 1 and have it upgraded for $1,000. So if you find a Carbon, the value of your Carbons hasn't diminished, and it won't diminish as much because people are going to be buying the Carbon 1 to get the upgrade to Carbon 2. I am already an Audeze insider. I don't need to put in my information. But this is the SLAM. This is the big change in this headphone. And it's basically a layer between the ear pad and the driver that has this escape hatch on it. And this escape hatch serves a number of purposes. Number one, from Abyss headphones, creating an air gap will increase your bass performance. Right? The Diana, you have a special headphone that has an air gap built into them. This is Audeze adapting that technology to the Carbon. So you're relieving but the other thing it does is it relieves the pressure. The reason that the stacks farts were happening is you've got a seal against your head, right? Your ear's here, you put the headphone over it, and it creates a seal. So there's nowhere, it's an airtight gap between your eardrum, the side of your head, and the diaphragm. So whenever you moved this equation a little bit, pulling the headphone off, putting the headphone on, shaking your headphone a little bit, you would rustle the distance between the driver and your ear, and it would cause this driver to flex one way or the other. Well, that's not a problem on a magnet design, because the magnets carry no electricity. But on an electrostatic, you've got charged posts on either side that are positive and negative. And if you move this material into a charged post, it creates a little zap. And that zap translates to this wacky pop that's really annoying. I can tell you, it's really annoying. It's annoying to me. So by gapping this, you're allowing that pressure to relieve itself, ungas itself, unpressurize. And as a result, you get an increased bass response, which you can see in the little frequency charty chart. And but at the same time, you're also taking away the ability for that thing to fart up. And then the membranes, I'm sure, got thinner, faster. You're going to get a little bit of a gain to them. I still don't think these things are quite on the detail level of the SRX 9000. But what do you need that detail for, right? What do you know? It's good to have great, and these things are wicked fast still. So what are you going to use all that detail for? You know, if you're listening to classical music, okay, you'll hear the keys on the woodwind, the woodwinds and the flutes. You'll hear the valves opening and shutting a little clearer, I guess. But you'll still hear that. You'll get all of that detail because it is an electrostatic. But you'll get bass to it. You'll get movement. You'll get like that fulfillment in your soul. That to me is what it's about. I mean, I want to hear that stuff. So it runs on the Stax BIOS, and this is the Heritage of Innovation. That's the Carbon 1, and this is the device that caused them to make the Carbon in the first place. It was a headphone they designed for MRI tubes, and the Carbon, the diaphragms on this thing are carbon. That's why it's called the Carbon, and instead of a metal-based diaphragm. And the reason that they needed that was to not be detected by and disrupt an MRI. So if you're going into an MRI tube for a long period of time, Audeze designed this pair of headphones for you to wear to kind of ease the tension of being in that uncomfortable tube. And I've done a few of those, and they're not. If you're claustrophobic, yeah, a pair of headphones and some nice, pleasant music to take you out of that moment, or maybe some aggressive headbanging metal will make you forget about your troubles while you're going through it. So it's the heritage there is there, and Audeze has been developing this shit for a long time. It's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. Okay. So yes, I'm back to the chat. Perp Dolo says he would buy an Audeze limited run LCD-4. Sure, but I think you're going to, my hunch is you won't see that. I think you're going to see the next version of whatever it is that they're going to do, and it will bring some of that LCD-4 magic back to it, if I had to guess. And that's just a guess. Hermit made 67 units of the LCD-R with a shit Jotunheim to power them. They shot high voltage into the wood surrounds to create Lichtenberg lines. It was a shame they were a limited run. I've seen them pop up though. It's not like the hardest thing, and they still sell some B stock of that every now and then. You'll see B stock stuff. Ginger says only headphone he ever made money on reselling it. Yeah. I've never made any money in this hobby. I've only lost money. I have Jay. This is Jonathan. Hey all, I am stopping by, dropping in for a very brief moment, still in the middle of working and have another meeting in a couple of minutes, but we'll be watching the replay though. Yeah, Jonathan, all of your, you'll see some of your photos made it in there. Nephilim says, with all that's been going on, have you been able to take some refuge in some Sonics? No. I can tell you this. I have not turned any of this stuff on in at least 2.5 weeks. It's like since before the fire. I just don't have the time. At night I'm working on these reels, and I've been working on this. And I suppose I could be working on them with my headphones on, maybe. But you know, I'm just glued to, you know, we had the news on 24/7, and the news is on again 24/7 now with the new fires. It's just, ooh, what's this? Oh boy, okay. Interesting entertainment news. I'll talk about it in a second. Yeah, I haven't. What have you been listening to maybe make you feel better? No, and I haven't even been on my weekly walks with my IEMs, which was sort of like my one day a week. I'd get out, I'd do 3 laps around the neighborhood, put in the IEMs, and just jam out to something. Usually The Clash, or some new wave post-punk band. Or Elvis Costello or whatever. I haven't even been able to do that. I've been really, it's been really all hands on deck for a bit here. Had a Johnson Rad Zero a while ago, JTB. I love the Rad Zero. Nice all-rounder, good signature. The comfort was awful. That's the reason he sold it. You know, if I had to compare the Rad Zero to something, I would say that they remind me a little bit of that Modhouse Tungsten, you know? The Modhouse Tungsten is much more difficult to drive, but I think the Modhouse Tungsten is kind of an evolution of that Rad Zero. If I had to, I didn't listen to them that much, but that's kind of the lane that I thought they fell into. During Audeze sales, November LCD-4 is one of the biggest. It goes away in milliseconds. I know. Everybody wants to get their hands on that. Alert the media. Michael has just confirmed a new LCD-4. I haven't. I have not. Stop it. I had nothing to do with that. JTB, you retract that statement. Blocked. Just joined. Sorry if I missed Sony, but didn't Sony acquire Audeze? Does that help R&D funding? Yes. You can watch the beginning of it. I kind of go through it a little bit more succinctly in a very clumsy multimedia fashion, because I kept transferring between my laptop and the camera here, so I could show you things that I had recorded while I was at Audeze that they let me record. They welcomed me to record, and Peter explained some of the gear that we were looking at, some of the stations and stuff. Just really cool. And there are people that do nothing but just sit there and assemble, put the same parts together, and get, you know, they'll be doing a run of whatever they're doing that day, and their job is to get all the parts and pieces in place, and everybody's got a little piece on the assembly line. It's very cool. It's very cool. These are very dedicated workers, and some of them are really skilled. Like, you know that they're the shit. You know, they didn't get their job on their personality. They got their job on their skills. Mad skills to be able to assemble this stuff. So yes, that's explained at the top of this video. I go through it a couple times during the Q&A here. Caesar says, yesterday he listened to the DCS Farisi. Time to upgrade your Lena. Ah, brother, I need a job. I can't do shit right now. It's getting alarming. I'm really starting to I got to get a job, guys. And I'm starting to consider some more drastic options, because I just can't put up with this. And I'm not getting a lot of help either. It's, you know, the people who can help me are helping me, but some people have not stepped forward in ways that I'd hoped, unfortunately. But that's the business, you know. You don't know what's going on until it's gone on. And some people have said, yeah, sure, you know, can't wait. And then they disappear. So there you go. But I need that. Don't start any more fires in California. I know, really. Ginger Hermit, welcome. Cheers, Ginger. Placing headphone stand wing right through the side of the unveiled. Yeah, not worth it. Oh yeah. No, the unveiled thing is, and I love HiFiman. The Sisfara, but man, guys, the Aria, you know, they've got landmark headphones that are really important and outstanding achievements. That's a bad idea. That's just a bad idea. And I feel sorry because they're going to get a lot of repairs. They're going to have a lot of repairs, and that's unfortunate. Guys, what do you think of the LCD-3? That as well isn't a bad headphone. No, the 3 was a huge step up from the 2. The 2 was a little thin on the sound, and the 3 really brought the body, and then the bass really cranked its butt off, and so the LCD-3 is still a good headphone. Yeah, totally. But worth checking out. Yeah, pretty sure Peter discussed the full driver revision on the Hangout. Yeah, I can't remember, you know what, but he definitely reestablished that on this tour that there was an upgrade on the driver. So very good on him for doing this stuff. GTB enjoys a good fart. Good to know, buddy. He who smelt it dealt it. Oh, you poor guy. No time for Sonics. I feel for you. That hurts. Yeah, fellas, it's been a journey. It's been, you know, I'm not going to. I wish I had bright, rosy things to say, but oh, that fire is working its way into a bad area. Damn. There's a fire road there, but don't know if there's anything that's going to keep it from jumping. You know, it is what it is, and I'm not going to woe is me. I'm going to get up off my ass, and you know, I'm going to make 2 stellar videos to try and boost my chances. And I've got a friend of mine who's making an introduction that could lead to other work. And, you know, there's still stuff in the pipeline happening, and I'm going to work my butt off and not go down without a fight, because that's what I do. But we are getting to a point where we need to start thinking about, and with all these fires, man, maybe it's not the worst idea to think about another part of the country. You know, the taxes out here are miserable. I don't like our mayor right now. I think our mayor has been vacant. The governor, not thrilled with him either. You know, it's and you know, I voted for both. I just want to be clear about that. You know, I don't like to get in politics, but I'm like, I'm not a fan right now. I don't think we've done everything we could to be preventative of these fires. You know. Anyway. A couple more of the chat, and then we'll wrap it up for a Wednesday. Sorry, Neil Snyder's not here. I thought he'd be here today. Damn it! Really respect to Audeze. They made mistakes, but they're clean, friendly, and professional. And look, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. It's not outside. You know, everybody's going to produce something that doesn't go quite the way they wanted. What happened? Where'd my live stream go? I lost my chat. Are we still on the air? I swear to God, guys, the live stream just disappeared. The chat just disappeared. Where'd it go? Yeah, okay, whatever. Something happened. Cancel. Okay. All right, it came. Did I lose my live stream? Do we go off the air for a second? Sorry, guys. I don't know what happened there. Something clicked down, and all of a sudden I lost the chat in the window here, and I couldn't see it, and then I looked like I was off the air and whatever. Oh, hopefully we're building back up some data, some bandwidth. I think I'm a little soft right now. Okay. Anyway, so let's let me just wrap this up, and we'll get off the air. I'm sorry for the black hole there. Whatever happened, I don't know what happened. Something just went kaflooey. Oh, Neil's chimed in. Okay, so Neil is here today. Good, Neil. I'm glad you're here. I wanted you just to be able to see what happened on that trip. Okay, so you won't find them coming out and trash talking multiple revisions of the same underlying tech to make a flavor of the month money. No, they don't. They come out with, but you're going to see a lot from Audeze this year. That much they promised me. Audeze did say they're going to have a bunch of releases this year. So it's something. The governor heard me. Maybe he did. The mayor disconnected my internet. That's exactly what happened. I'm just watching, been busy prepping to move out of the country. Neil hasn't been happy with the last week, I don't think. And Michael, you probably know the band, the Ultravox. Of course, Ultravox. Fantastic, man. I've been loving the living, what out of this band. What a period between 1980 and 84. So awesome. He even bought all 4 box sets. Yeah, they're terrific. They're another great band. A bunch of them. There's so much good from that era. And every time I dive in, I find some new band, some new nook to explore that I hadn't seen before. I talked about these guys before, but one of my favorite things I've found in the last year or so was this band called the Stranglers, which they did this song that I probably heard once or twice, but it had been 20 years since I heard this song, maybe even longer, maybe back to I was probably in Chicago, because it's a song that I think I may have heard on XRT, but it was called Peaches, and it's this it's this romp about 2 guys sitting on the beach, all full of themselves, staring at babes. And it was completely mistaken at the time as misogynistic when it was a complete riff. It was a complete parody. It was meant to make fun of guys who stand on the beach and make fun of stuff. And but it's got such an amazing bass hook. But I did a deeper dive because they were around for a number of years and they changed the lineup a little bit. Just fantastic. I'm so... That was like one of my favorite finds of the last year. And I just went through the Stranglers library, just doing that whole thing. Just, man, oh man. Just great band. But I understand, that's why you say Ultravox, I think of bands like that they had kind of a cult following, but you didn't know. Anyway, guys, last couple then say goodbye. Mayor has been vacant. Yeah, I'm kind. Yeah, I know. I got into a fight with somebody on Nextdoor today who was like, everything, she was fine, and she made her trip, and I'm like, don't stop with the gaslighting. I mean, you're just gaslighting. To tell me everything's fine and that everything that's happened in the last month has been perfectly normal and acceptable. Come on. Let's be at least fair. Let's be fair. I don't get into. I don't like talking politics on this show though. But it's something that was on my mind off the air. Killer opening phrasing on that. I know. And Walk On By, yeah, they did a version of that. Just awesome. Midge Uri just lifted Ultravox to a whole new level. Guys, if you haven't heard Ultravox, check them out. Yeah, maybe I'll check them out tonight or something. Definitely gets his music appreciation vote. Yeah, and in the same way that Brian Eno and Adrian Belew changed the Talking Heads. Talking Heads were a very different band before they ran into Brian Eno. They were great, and they were quirky and unusual. But start with Fear of Music and work forward a couple of albums. And, you know, they were past their peak, you know, maybe by Naked. It was kind of when things started going a little cattywampus. But still, even, you know, when past their peak, they still made great music. But Brian Eno brought something different, and bringing Adrian Belew in changed the band forever. They were different working with him. It gave them a different approach, and I think it sparked David Byrne's creativity. I think it was a positive thing. Anyway, there you go. Okay, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today. The Humpday Happy Hour Hangout here, Director's Garage. I'm glad you guys could join us. I'm going to get back to making episodes here very shortly. I am apologetic. I sound like a broken record, but I got to go with what Fire is pulling. He needs the most attention. Sorry, that's a really bad analogy. I'm trying to go with what emergency needs the most attention. I'm trying to keep the plates in the air here, fellas, and the show's been a little backburnered for the last month, and I got to apologize. I know you guys expect stuff from me, and I don't like to disappoint anybody. I just ask for your patience while we're working through some pretty big life things here, but we'll be back and resumed, and things are going to be great. And I can't wait to get back in and do more of these headphone based shows, you know, like my big production shows. I love doing them. It's a lot of fun. But for now, I'm just getting to the point where you'll get something. I just don't know when. All right, guys. Cheers. Have a great rest of your week. I hope you enjoyed this look at Ozzy. Hit the thumbs up on your way out the door if you could. Just push the little thing. What is that? The little tip your waiters and waitresses, recycle your beer bottles, and I gotta find my switcher. I can't get off the air without the switcher, and I don't know where the switcher went. It's up here somewhere. There it is. All right, and I'll see you guys before you know it. So cheers, everyone. Oh, it's a color. Genius.
Oh yes, it's time to get juiced.